Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's Monday morning, Singapore. Monday morning, 8:58 a.m. So it's almost 9 a.m. here, and I'm doing my podcast. I haven't been doing any podcasts for the last maybe 2.5 to 3 weeks. I'm in the eastern part of the country, in this part of Singapore called East Coast Beach. Can you hear the waves, the sound of the waves? And I just did a live virtual tour for a group of 12 people talking about rising sea levels. And there's so much to talk about with regards to this topic on rising sea levels. I don't claim to be an expert. I continue to learn, and I realize that there's so much about rising sea levels, this topic, that I still do not know of. So I'm going to share with you a few things about rising sea levels, particularly in the context of Singapore and what we are doing to combat against rising sea levels. We are a very, very small country. The country is probably smaller than most of the cities where you come from. We are only about 700 plus kilometers square, and that is only after reclaimed land. We have been talking and discussing about rising sea levels in this country. As a nation, the government is trying to get us prepared to be more aware of this existential threat. It is an existential threat because we are a very small island, and apart from building higher, in the sense that a lot of our new buildings have been mandated to be built higher, we are also doing many other things in response to this existential threat, this threat called rising sea levels. We are an island, so we are surrounded by waters on all sides, and sea levels are projected to rise to about 1 meter or slightly more than 1 meter, between 1 to 1.2 meters by the year 2100, which is in 77 or 78 years' time. And that is not too far away, one generation away. And the government here has set aside about $100 billion to fight against this existential threat. Already $5 billion out of the 100 has been allocated for the next few years, and we are learning from countries who are also islands, and also learning from countries who are low-lying countries, places like the Netherlands. And we are generally a low-lying country. 1/3 of Singapore is no more than 5 meters above sea level, and so as a low-lying country, we are prone to things like flooding. Parts of Singapore is occasionally affected by flooding because we also have flash floods, thunderstorms causing flash floods, and so with the compounded challenge or problem of sea levels rise, we discover that the threat is real, and it's not just real; it's an urgent matter to be more aware of, and to know what we have to do, the many things that we have to do, and to get prepared for eventualities. So rising sea levels affecting a lot of other countries, not just us, countries that are low-lying and countries that are islands, especially countries that are islands and not very big by themselves. And so we have been looking at what other nations who have similar characteristics or features like us, what they have been doing, the things that they are doing or have been doing, and we're trying to learn from these nations. So we are at this eastern part of Singapore called East Coast Beach, and the reason why I chose this location to do my live virtual tour is because this is the part of Singapore that is most susceptible to rising sea levels. This is the part of Singapore that is most affected most going to be this part of Singapore, which is most vulnerable to any sea level rise. Yep. And so this is a 15 kilometers long coastal area. This beach or this park, we call it East Coast Beach. Some of us call it East Coast Park. It's about 15 kilometers long, and we have seen the government here building sea walls. We use both man-made and natural interventions to fight against rising sea levels. In this country, we realize that man-made interventions are important, but it is also important to be a bit more innovative and think about natural interventions. Natural interventions means things like mangroves, replanting mangroves. We lost quite a fair bit of mangroves in the last few decades as the country experiences economic growth, and the pursuit of economic growth means that urbanization has taken over things like conservation. So we discover that there's a lot of things we can do, as I was saying, both man-made and natural interventions. We invest in building seawalls. We invest in building dikes, DYKES, and a few more things that are man-made infrastructures to prevent coastal areas or places near the sea from being inundated with floods and some other effects of rising sea levels. Rising sea levels is mainly associated with a few more things. Rising sea levels, one of the main reasons why sea levels have been rising is that globally, as you look at what is happening in many parts of the world, our lifestyles mean that we are burning fossil fuels, and for so long we have been using fossil fuels, and that is one of the main factors associated with rising temperatures. And when temperatures rise because of the incessant use or the burning of the fossil fuels, as temperatures rise, sea levels go up too. And not discounting the melting of the giant ice sheets in places like Greenland. And so that is also another reason number 2 for rising sea levels. Okay. So there's a lot more we can talk about when it comes to this topic, rising sea levels. I always find it very interesting to engage in a chit-chat or a conversation about rising sea levels, because there's a lot more that I do not know of. There's a lot of dots that I am learning to connect. And so rising sea levels is an interesting topic in the sense that it is also connected to some other things like climate change, global warming. So it is not an isolated topic by itself. And so this is a very short sharing session, and I hope you tune in to some more of my podcast sharing. And I'm signing off from sunny island Singapore, Monday morning, bright Monday morning, and have a good day and a good week.